I don't want to say that I grow used to it, but I do, to a certain extent, and you just accept that's the way it will be. You know, things come up and I feel like the attention and whatever that is. You will be criticized by others. No matter what you do, people will still give you praise. Whether it's me or any other professional athlete that is at the top of their game. It's simply going to be this way when you're playing at this level and under this kind of spotlight. However, since it was personal, she entered TD Garden as though it were. The Connecticut Sun didn't just play hard when Caitlin Clark last faced them, they specifically targeted her. JCS Sheldon poked his head in. From Marina Mabiri, a body check. I prod. That's what Clark found objectionable. Let me mention something, though, before Mab entered. Take a break. However, Caitlin Clark didn't merely answer this time. She changed the WNBA's course. One cruel message, 3 broken records. I believe you should just keep improving at the things you wish to improve. You know, everyone has expectations of you, but at the end of the day, I think there are no higher expectations than what I have on myself, and that's probably the biggest difficulty occasionally. She also scored more points than the entire squad in the last 5 minutes. It wasn't merely a game, it was war. Let's go back. June 17th. With hopes of winning the Commissioner's Cup at stake, the Beavers host the Connecticut Sun tonight. Feeling good after a nice win? This is a big one for us. Have to get out and play with a lot of vigor once more. The crowd should be fantastic, so it will be enjoyable. The Connecticut Sun is facing Caitlin Clark. It ought to have been a typical game. Rather, it becomes unsightly. Clark's eye is swiped by JCS Sheldon. Marina Maber then conducts a thorough physical examination, and the referees allowed it to occur. This escalated because of what was referred to as a blatant technicals. Were those 2? For what we believed to be technical fouls but no ejections. Charles received a technical, followed by Maviri. Clark did not defend himself. She accepted it. She never forgot, though. Clark wasn't only there to play when Indiana entered TD Garden. For the rematch, she came to exact revenge. Additionally, she had backup this time. The Celtics may call TD Garden home, but Wednesday evening, Fever supporters owned it. The building was packed with more than 19,000 people, and they made sure the Connecticut Sun knew it. This was no ordinary game. The takeover was hostile, and the Fever were prepared. Sophie Cunningham took on the role of enforcer. What a pickup Ari McDonald has been. Entered as a player to replace an injury, Sophie Cunningham is there. With 20 points, Kelsey Mitchell was outstanding. It didn't take long for Indiana to respond after the rookie left France. In transition, she didn't even have a chance to get back and get in front of her. How about making the contact? Natasha Howard scored 18 points and pulled down 13 rebounds, dominating the interior. Clark has a great high head on the ball screen inside. You already know that Tina Charles has every weapon at her disposal. Sheldon now has a height disadvantage over Howard. Yes, excellent acknowledgement. Even Aaliyah Boston made an impression with rebounds and deft passes, even though she had a difficult shooting night. Inside, another pass. Mitchell did a good job gathering, returning to that Leah Boston facilitation this very moment. The cutters are being read by her, fakes the handoff, and Kelsey Mitchell reads it well. However, it all began with Clark. Like a general behind the back passes, she ran the floor. Don't glance at the dishes. Complete command. Take the glass off of Clark. Well done, Clark. The defense was frozen by her. The ball is moving in thanks to 5 basketballs. 5 seconds. Additionally, Clark was stealthily pursuing history, while the fans were preoccupied with the game. She was shooting harsh. She made 4 of 14 field goals and only 1 of 7 long-range shots, but her impact was unparalleled. Learn from her by playing against her, giving some of the best young players access to the courts. Caitlin Clark scored the first points. of the second half with it. At this point, Clark exits the screen and simply looks down, however, is similar to the pull-up. In a single night, she smashed 3 WNBA records. She first became the league's fastest ever player to amass 450 assists. It only took her 53 games to do it. 62 was the previous record. She won 9 complete games. Second, she became the fastest person in history to hit a 150-point shot. Third, she continued to record at least 5 assists in 40 consecutive games. The longest streak is that one the league has ever witnessed. That is greatness, not luck. In her 9th career game, Jaylen Clark scored 32 points and provided 22 assists, making her the second highest scorer and assister in WNBA history. Give up fooling with this chick. With just 45 games played, she is just 1 game away from tying the WNBA record. This is her 2nd season. She doesn't want all of things. Thus, I don't like that she's becoming woke. You end up with a quite adorable girl. She remains a woman. She's not black. Her attitude was excellent. It's not necessary to be ghetto, ostentatious, and all that. She embodies all that was said to be necessary for success. At 2, her return game peaked. ABC had 8 million viewers, one of the greatest numbers ever. The Fever's film series value increased to $340 million. God, oh God, Caitlin. Clark should receive the same compensation as men if someone says they should. However, what transpired within the last 5 minutes? That was not the same. Clark flipped the switch there. She erupted, the Fever clinging to a tiny lead. Drive, dish, score, and at the end, she had scored more points in the last 5 minutes alone than the whole Connecticut Sun. They attempted to halt her. They were unable to. Just dominant snowfowls. No trash language. There was nothing Caitlin Clark needed to say. The scoreboard spoke for itself, yet everything changed just when it looked ideal. Clark completed a quick pass to Mitchell with less than a minute remaining. Then she reached for her right leg, which has been causing her pain. Because I just got done watching the Connecticut Sun versus Indiana Fever game, and I promise that something always happens when these two teams play each other. And it's never good, really. It's never good. The most significant story of the evening, of course, is that Caitlin Clark appears to have injured her groin. I'll just play the video for you all. She is dribbling down, planting her foot, passing the ball to Kelsey Mitchell on the back door, and then sprinting back. As you can see here, she seems to be grasping her groin area on the other side of the court. She appears to be clutching her right crotch area at this point as well, and her left side is said to have sustained her most recent groin problem. It's the injury to the groin. Slowly, she made her way to the bench. No joy, no grin. The camera captured her weeping as she covered her face with a towel. It hurt, Caitlin Clark. Not only emotionally and physically, as in a few days, it's almost All-Star weekend. She is captain of the Indiana team. She is competing for 3 points. At least she was meant to be the weekend's main attraction. Everything is unknown now. Stephanie White, the coach, reported feeling something in her groin. We'll have it assessed. We only know that. No news. Well, I just had a slight get it checked out and see what happens after she has something in her crotch. And that is insufficient. The Fever lose more than just a player when Clark isn't there. They become less themselves. And just when the league needs her most, it loses its biggest draw. 1 victory, 3 records, and 1 injury. That's how professional sports are. Leave a remark wishing Caitlin Clark luck. If you support her, a full recovery for her, similar to this video. For more in-depth analyses like this one, subscribe. Because one thing is certain, her narrative is only beginning. Additionally, it appeared that just before halftime, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White were engaged in a furious argument. Rumor has it, guys, that Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White had a verbal exchange before the Atlanta Dream Games half. I'm come to inform you that there isn't any video of the altercation. But I'm rather certain within a few hours, it will be wandering around somewhere that this alteration occurred. On live television, Caitlin Clark lashes out against her instructor. Indeed, that did occur, and the whole basketball community is discussing it. What you haven't seen, though, is this. This was more than a little dispute. It was a tipping point. That might cause the Indiana Fever to disintegrate inside. At halftime, Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White were engaged in a furious argument. We're in the street when White was instructed by Caitlin Clark to make Kelsey Mitchell-Anvey fail. The Harbies. It might be accurate. Caitlin visited a tire shoe store. For example, that is something I observed. For example, Caitlin didn't even glance when Natasha Haar had the ball. She was essentially defending herself by walking back. Every time Teshard had the ball, she practically walked back on defense. And you'll discover it's even worse than anyone anticipated once you hear what actually happened before that point. It's not good for the Indiana Fever. Behind the scenes, there's mayhem. But on the surface, it appears to be a struggling team with youthful talent trying to sort things out. Look, it's obvious that Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark respect and enjoy each other. However, that does not imply that they are always in agreement. And I'm starting to get the feeling that there's a difference between how they view the game and how they believe the Indiana Fever should play. Simply listening to what they have to say allows you to make some connections. Caitlin Clark, the most well-known figure in women's basketball, was the focal point of it all. The one who sells out venues, breaks records, and apparently had a falling out with her own coach. Man, pay attention. This Caitlin Clark versus Stephanie White controversy has the potential to quickly become ugly. I have to be honest with all of you. Caitlin Clark wants to play one way. Stephanie White wants to play the complete opposite. Yesterday's victory for the Indiana Fever was a tale of two halves. The Indiana Fever played ugly puke basketball in the first half. It's been in the style of Stephanie White. During the first half, the basketball team puked. Caitlin Clark gave it her all, pedaled to the limit, and ran in the second half despite making shots. She was accelerating the pace while running nonstop. What did we do then? We are going to score about 100 points. Our score will be 99. And I've heard about this altercation in the tunnel or at halftime. And if it did occur, I'm happy it did, and it should continue. And since this is her squad, Caitlin Clark must keep putting pressure on them. Yes, exactly. According to several stories, Clark and Stephanie White, the head coach of the Fever, got into a furious confrontation during halftime that was captured on camera, going viral after reaching hundreds. According to sources, Clark told the coach that she was upset and fed up with teammates ignoring her when they wouldn't give the ball to her. It was only a question of time, dude, that Caitlin Clark would undoubtedly speak with Stephanie White. We observed that Caitlin Clark is unable to get into rhythm and that she has been running this motion offensive. Many individuals believe Caitlin Clark was harmed. I don't think she's in pain. Caitlin Clark, in my opinion, is unable to just get into rhythm. She hasn't been shooting well because of this. And I was among the first to warn you that this was going to occur. I informed everyone a week ago that Caitlin Clark will be returning. We will see the same Caitlin Clark that we saw just prior to injury if nothing changes. Witnesses claim that she even instructed White to bench certain players, particularly Natasha Howard and Kelsey Mitchell, who kept looking mid-possession. Clark was off. It wasn't subtle either, correct? So let's watch this video clip. Body language is being discussed. People are tired of hearing about Caitlin. They are discussing how Howard uses the ball selfishly. Man, let's just have a look at that. She then throws it down. Observe the shoulders of Caitlyn in this place. She sort of said, ah. Then, as Howard leaves for work, she proceeds to tie her shoes. Man, she misses the layup. Okay, no. It's kind of evil to tie your shoes. I've seen it now. I've seen it previously. In situations where players are out of the play and know they won't get the ball or something, they take a moment to tie their shoes. However, I guess so. Yes, there was a lot of body language from Clark. She laced her shoes during active plays, stepped back on defense, and avoided looking at specific teammates who had the ball. This was more than just annoyance. This demonstration was silent. It was all uttered in 1 minute. The third quarter has over. The ball belongs to Natasha Howard. Caitlin Clark has a lot to say. Howard dismisses her once more and dashes into traffic. Squanders the whole possession. For those of you who missed it, Natasha Howard ended the third quarter by looking off Caitlin Clark. She made a really stupid move at the end of the third quarter by looking off Caitlin Clark. I want to apologize one more for the size. Regarding the size of these clips, I sincerely apologize. I will be subject to copyright claims if I enlarge the clips more. They're going to make a copyright claim, which is why I'm not breaking out why people aren't doing that. If you missed it, Natasha looks off Caitlin Clark to rush to nowhere. She then takes 1, 2, 3, 4, or roughly 5 steps, performs the cha slide, and gets it to Caitlin Clark with 3 seconds remaining, forcing her to take a difficult step back. Howard even blocked Clark, her own teammate, at the rim a few seconds later. Let me reiterate that. She obstructed her own teammate. Basketball isn't that. It's disrespectful. So, where was Stephanie White, the coach? Not at all. Quiet, allowing it to occur. The Fever are really running to distinct offenses on the same court, so this has been brewing for weeks. Caitlin Clark's system is one of them. Modern, quick-paced, selfless, and based on IQ and ball movement. You have Stephanie White to grasp anything. You had the option to remain in Connecticut. Caitlin Clark did not join your program in Connecticut. You arrived at her location. Natasha Howard arrived at her location. She didn't go hang out with you guys. Therefore, do not attempt to. Come over here and take away everything she does well in an attempt to make her fit in with what you all do. Fans have voiced their opinions. This conflict between Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White has the potential to go really ugly. And let's actually see which direction you believe the corporation will take. You must be aware that Amber Cox and Kelly Crossoff are out there attempting to market the Indiana Fever as Apple. You guys aren't any goddamn apps. Apple, you guys don't even use Boost Mobile. You are aware that this team missed out in the playoffs for more than a decade until Caitlin Clark arrived. You are aware that Kelsey Mitchell was winning roughly 6 games a year while playing professionally. Every year she was winning about 6 games. It's not an Apple. It's not an Apple. I adore Caitlin Clark. The system that the other ISO uses, Hero Ball, which depends on contested mid-range shots and mayhem, isn't working. In a recent game, everything clicked for the Fever. Despite the fact that her shot was not falling. Clark grabbed control in the second half. She made elite-level readings, located open teammates, and continued to pick up the pace. A 4-point lead turned into a 17-point rout in just 6 minutes. The group appeared to be unstoppable. It was hardly a stroke of luck. Caitlin Clark was that person. Coach White, however, continues to strive to strike a balance between the two systems. Rather than committing to that approach, it was little under 6 o'clock, and this game has a half-minute segment where Clark loses his temper. She gets clearly hyped up as usual, and then she just starts acting as like a switch has just been flipped. She simply began attacking, driving into the lane, shooting strong shots, being fouled and getting rejected, doesn't matter. She's accelerating, she's in your face. Everything else is opening up because she's becoming assertive. Additionally, as her shot wasn't falling tonight, the team's cohesion is being destroyed by her attractive, open appearance. Caitlin Clark isn't the issue, let's face it. This team is held together only by her. She's exerting every effort, while teammates move about, hold the ball, and block her. She is passing, grabbing rebounds and defending. And it's culture, not simply effort. Kelsey Mitchell, for example, she ran off the ball, made herself open, and attacked the rim last season. She's walking it this season. No hurry, no cuts, no spacing, and it's no accident. It's a statement. Stat padding is more important to some of these athletes than winning. Additionally, the coaching staff is too scared to take sides. Clark, however, chose one. Drama is not her thing. She is not here to be a friend to everyone. Her goal is to succeed. Furthermore, she wasn't lashing out when she yelled at Stephanie White. Since Clark is aware of what victory looks like, she was calling for accountability. It's her entire life she has done it. Furthermore, this system will not function. The narrative wasn't about that sideline commotion, was the sign. This squad is disintegrating behind the scenes. Sophie Cunningham and other players understand. They flee. They are separated. Faith in Clark to take the lead. Sophie Cunningham was also involved in that. Most significantly, Sophie Cunningham finished the game with a double-double of 16 points, 10 rebounds, and a .445 three-point shooting percentage. She had a block shot as well. She was therefore everywhere on the floor. She was making a significant contribution by grabbing a number of rebounds, including 2 offensive ones. Hall hasn't been as good with that set three-point shooter, and other players like Clark haven't been as successful with it on a regular basis. In order to match the Atlanta Dream, who were, dominating three-pointers, we need another player who can sort of pick up the slack and start making threes. Ryan Howard and Jordan Canada alone must have had 10, in my opinion. We therefore required a match for that. That player was Sophie Dot, generating excitement tonight, and generating excitement from the fans outside as well. Sophie's influence tonight was enormous. The remarks about how angry people were about the last game actually came to pass here. Others, however, are mired in the past, unwilling to change, unwilling to go without the ball, and unwilling to take Caitlin's example. Indiana must now make a choice. They either focus on Caitlin Clark or continue to balance their egos at the expense of chemistry, and squandering one of the best basketball minds in history. Because Caitlin is a system, not just a scorer. The Fever win while she is in charge. When they disregard her, mayhem ensues. The statistics show that. It is evident in the way the game progresses. You may now watch it live on television. That disagreement that resulted from that viral moments of dysfunction. At last, Clark had had enough. She is immature, which is why she didn't blow up. No one else would say it out. So she blew up. This group is dysfunctional. The system needs to be fixed because it is malfunctioning. From here, whither does the Fever go? They support their celebrity if they are astute. They hand the reins over to her Dot. Since Caitlin Clark isn't the issue, they let her take the lead. She is the answer. If you are biking with Clark, leave a 100% in the comments. The Fever may be in peril. So if you've had enough of the drama, hit the like button and subscribe for more analyses like this one. However, Caitlin Clark is just beginning to begin.